Now, this is serious business. It's okay to disagree in podcasts. I mean, everybody disagrees, and to prove your point in a very rational and respectful way. But what sort of man resorts to calling, people who don't agree with him, or nearly half of the country's electorate, resorts to calling them goons and zygotes? And what sort of man resorts to calling a reputable union leader, referring to him as a union donkey? This is the level of divisiveness and decadence in politics that we've reached? You've got to be kidding me. And this is the same man who wants to sue someone for asking a question about his possible link to a particular company. Wants to take legal action, but yet still uses his platform to call people some of the most derogatory names on the planet. Now, you who are supposed to be his followers should think twice. And it sort of tells people, if you allow that, it sort of tells people what type of people you are. There is absolutely no room in Grenadian politics for that sort of rhetoric. No in the history of the country. To actively promote that sort of climate and that sort of speech on your platform, and to think that that is reputable and that is respectful, is downright nonsense. And someone has to call this crap out. Now, don't get me wrong. Other aspects of his platform may be reasonable. But that aspect of it, that name calling, that level of derogatory statements is unacceptable. Utterly unacceptable. I don't care how much money they're paying you to do this, that is unacceptable. I mean, I don't understand. Where did this gentleman learn this? In what sort of context did this gentleman learn this? I mean, if you're trying to be positive and you're trying to project a positive image of the NDC, and you're supposedly a big NDC hitter, then you can't start off your program by calling the opposition electorate nasty. They're nasty. Are you kidding me or something? Then what it does, it distracts from everything that you're about to say subsequently. Because that is what people remember. You calling opposition electorate nasty. And then you come and say, oh, we got to be positive. Yeah. How are you going to be positive when you start off by being negative? Calling fellow Grenadians nasty and zygotes and goons. No, you have grown people in the NDC, grown people in Grenada who know better accepting this nonsense. You think a Rod Titus would have spoken like that? Do you think a Trevor Tate would have spoken like that? Do you think a Ray Roberts would have spoken like that? You could go even further. Do you think a Jerry Romaine would have spoken like that? Do you think a Alistair Hughes would have spoken like that? So where did this gentleman learn this? Because if he grew up in a Grenadian society and had these examples in media, how the hell do you get to they're nasty? How do you get to that? You could not learn that from Grenada or in a Grenadian context. You had to learn that probably from some other island or somewhere else or something foreign. That's not what we used to. That doesn't represent Grenada. And again, grown people who know better are actually accepting this nonsense in the name of politics. Okay? And to a certain extent, I understand that there's no guidance, or there's an unwillingness to accept guidance. Because I remember, I ran into Troy Garvey down at Morris Bishop Highway, but I think it was an Ace or something like that. And I said to him, man, what the hell is going on in media now these days, man? And he said to me, he says, you don't understand. You can't tell them youth and them nothing. So I understand. But let's get back to the gentleman. And that is the same man who comes along now and say, oh, I'm going to sue because this woman is calling my name. Because a woman alleges that you're part of a particular company. Now you want to go after her. And it's sort of showing a sign of desperation. Because anytime you see someone is picking fights with everyone, it is just a sign of utter desperation. Now he moves from attacking that podcaster who he claims slandered his name, and he goes now to Brian Grimes. He goes to Mr. Grimes and starts calling him a union donkey. And you guys sit there and you guys think that is okay. Now, if that is the brand, if that is the brand that NDC promotes, then I don't know. Then we totally gone astray. If that is their transformation agenda, if that is the gentleman who's the biggest podcast hitter representing their brand of transformation, then we've got a major problem on our hands. Let me tell you something, partner. If you want to be an agent of transformation and you want to represent the NDC brand of transformation, here's your start. Transform your program. Cut out the nonsense that you start off the program with. Cut out calling people derogatory names. And just maybe then, people might see the positive things you're saying. But you can't get angry because opposition electorate are asking questions. You can't be mad because they're asking questions. You should welcome them asking questions, and you should welcome scrutiny. If you believe that what you're doing is so good, people looking at what you're doing, exposing what you're doing, asking questions about what you're doing is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So, you'll thank me in the future. As I said, if you want to really transform and you want to be an agent of transformation, start with your program, sir. You'll be better for it. But if you are the brand of the NDC, you're doing the NDC a disservice when you engage in the sort of nonsense like that. I think you will better serve the NDC if you focus. As you said, you want to be positive. Focus on those positive messages. And stop worrying about the opposition electorate when they decide to ask a question. And stop calling them nasty. How about that? That'll be a starting point for being positive. And you can't use the excuse that I'm not a politician, so I can say whatever I want. But you have to understand that you're hurting the NDC brand. By doing what you're doing, you're sabotaging without realizing the NDC brand. And they themselves should actually rein you in. They should realize that it's not doing justice to their transformation agenda. So, okay, on that note, hopefully you see some sort of wisdom in what was said and you make the necessary adjustment. And as for Mr. Brian Grimes, the gentleman, is a class act. Please, leave that man alone, man. Come on.